Shipping our goods green. There are many amazing goods available on this planet for purchase, if one is fortunate enough to have the money to make those purchases. These goods are produced in a great many places around the world. Following the supply chains for these products can take us on a journey around the planet. Not surprisingly, the more parts a product has, the more global is its supply chain. If we look at the sources for something really large, like a Boeing jet, the term globalization takes on new meaning. Scanning around this interesting diagram, we see parts for this plane are made in Japan, Italy, various places in the US, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, France, China, and South Korea. How are all these parts and goods moved around the world? Well, 90% of them are literally shipped. The shipping containers are called TEUs for 20-foot equivalent unit, and it's an exact unit of cargo capacity. The 40-foot containers have found wider acceptance as they can be pulled by a semi-trailer truck. 4 of these huge vessels belonging to MSC Switzerland hold the record at 23,756 TEUs each. We are told this by Václav Smil in his book, Numbers Don't Lie. Václav Smil is a Czech-Canadian scientist, policy analyst, and a distinguished professor at the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg. His research is broad: energy, the environment, food, population dynamics, economics, history, and public policy. He is the author of more than 40 books. He has been an invited speaker at more than 300 conferences and workshops in the US, Canada, Europe, Asia, and Africa. Václav is an energy expert, and in Numbers Don't Lie, he points out that the huge diesel engines powering those massive ships as they travel on their long global journeys are all the while emitting particulates and carbon dioxide. Surely you would think we can do better. Václav is a scientist and a realist. He teaches us about the Yara Birkeland, the world's first electric-powered zero-emissions container ship, and also the first autonomous vessel. Pretty cool. The disappointing details, however, are the Yara Birkeland carries only 120 TEUs, its service speed is only 6 knots, and its longest intended operation is 30 nautical miles. To match the type of shipping that is happening right now with an electric ship, we would need batteries with an energy density more than 10 times as high as today's best lithium-ion units. 10 times. In the past 70 years, the energy density of the best commercial batteries hasn't even quadrupled. With present technology, it seems that batteries are not the solution to long-range transport. This also applies to aviation, but that will be addressed in a separate video. In Bill Gates' book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, he says, "Given how important container ships have become in the global economy, I don't think it will ever be financially viable to run them on anything other than liquid fuels. Making the switch to alternatives would do us a lot of good because shipping alone counts for 3% of all emissions." Now, ammonia, NH3, has some potential as a zero-emission fuel. A write-up in the journal Science discusses how renewable energies could be used to produce ammonia, replacing the current dirty Haber-Bosch method. The infrastructure is already in place for producing and transporting liquid ammonia because of the millions of metric tons produced each year for fertilizer. This issue must also be addressed to reach net zero emissions by 2050 while continuing to feed humanity. Scientists such as Daniel Thomas are working on this because ammonia is energy dense and can be stored and transported. The products are just water and nitrogen gas, which makes up 78% of the air you're breathing right now. There are significant efforts supporting the prospect of ammonia being an important fuel for our green future. However, a few steps still need to be achieved before this process is fully run by clean, renewable sources at a competitive price. However, one solution is already in use: methanol. Waterfront shipping has been using methanol in a number of their ships for several years and has recently even demonstrated barge-to-ship bunkering, or refueling by barge. Now, you might be wondering, isn't that a carbon atom right there? How is this fuel carbon free? Well, you gotta love science. Take a look at this process. Here, with green electricity from solar or wind, hydrogen is produced through electrolysis by splitting water. CO2 that has been captured is added to the hydrogen, producing methanol. That methanol, a liquid, can be stored and delivered, perhaps by barge, to the cargo ship, where it is burned to run the ship. The CO2 produced is then captured to make more methanol. So the loop is closed, and there is zero net carbon added to the atmosphere. This is proven technology. Global Thermostat is a carbon capture company with financial backing from ExxonMobil, who may be searching for ways to survive in an environment becoming less friendly to planet-destroying business models. ExxonMobil said this partnership fits with its recent announcement to invest $100 million over 10 years in emissions reduction technologies at some of the nation's top energy research labs. Another company, Carbon Capture Incorporated, just received $35 million in funding to expand their capabilities. As already mentioned, Waterfront Shipping has been using methanol in a number of their ships for several years. Stena is operating the first methanol-powered ferry. Stena Bulk with Proman Shipping will add a third methanol tanker to their fleet in 2022. Maersk, the world's largest container shipper, will have its first methanol container ship running by 2023, 7 years ahead of schedule. And in line with the United Nations Paris Agreement, the company is shooting to be carbon neutral by 2050. Furthermore, 9 companies, Amazon, Brooks, Frog Bikes, IKEA, Inditex, Michelin, Patagonia, Chibo, and Unilever have all committed to use only carbon neutral shipping by 2040, sending a clear market signal to fuel producers. Takeaways from this: one of the seemingly intractable climate change problems is on the way to being solved. Hopefully you feel you learned something good to know. Our Patreon link can be found on the Good to Know website. The domain is seemoreclearly.net. And thank you for watching.